Actually.
Or you say action?
Yeah.
I thought you said actually. That's perfect. Let that be the intro to this video. That's what CES is like right now. All right. I wouldn't go so far as to say that the silence is deafening, but what Sony did not announce at its CES press conference is definitely making some noise. Welcome back, everyone. I'm Caleb Dennison, and Sony's an interesting company because they've got a huge footprint in both the content creation side of things as well as the content consumption side of things. When you think about it, they make the video cameras that make their movies. They also make video games. They make the platform for those video games, and then on the consumption side, they make the PlayStation 5. And as a matter of fact, they make the PSVR 2, available February 22nd. Pre-order it right now, according to Sony. And as far as the PlayStation 5 is concerned, apparently, if you want to get one, you should be able to get one now. Apparently, that's just not going to be a problem anymore. At least that's what Sony said. But what they did not talk about here at the big press conference at CES were televisions. And we kind of knew that was going to be the case. I teased that earlier this week, getting ready for the CES coverage. I mentioned that we probably should not expect to hear anything from Sony about TVs at CES. And that is a big decision. But why? Why are we not hearing about TVs at CES from Sony? Well, I've got a few ideas. So first off, I think the road that brought Sony to this point, they got on that path quite some time ago. Years ago, I sat with Sony as they talked about how they wanted to lean hard into premium. They were going to slim down their TV line a little bit, not try to reach out to the masses so much, but play to the enthusiasts, to the folks who really cared about creators' intent. And that strategy has worked for Sony. You may remember that earlier this year, I made a video about should you pay the Sony tax? Should you spend extra to buy a Sony TV? And if you haven't seen that, link right there. At any rate, that strategy has worked well for Sony. They've seen solid sales, and of course their TVs are very well reputed both by reviewers like me and the public at large. The A95K QD OLED one, King of TV at the Value Electronics Shootout, they are certainly raking in the accolades. Sony maybe doesn't think that they need to show off their TVs at CES. There's a lot of noise happening at CES, right? I myself have been super busy talking about LG's releases, Samsung's new releases. We're gonna be talking about TCL's releases, Hisense releases. We are spitting news out non-stop. If Sony is not trying to sell to an absolutely massive audience, then why would they want to spend a bunch of time, money, and other resources trying to reach that same massive audience that everybody else is trying to reach? That competition is fierce. Why not wait for a few weeks or maybe a couple of months and then be the only one out there announcing new TVs at the time? We hear about all these new devices that will be coming out right now at CES in January, and then it's kind of deadsville until these new devices start coming out in the spring or the late spring. Why not take advantage of that sort of dead period and be the only one stepping out saying, guess what, we've got hot new stuff, here it is, check it out, and then all of a sudden they are the only one getting any attention at that time. Sounds like a pretty solid strategy to me. So I think that's what we're going to see from Sony. I can't talk about any confirmed time or date that Sony will be announcing televisions, but I do know that it's going to be coming in the next few weeks, and you can expect me to be there to tell you all about it. Sony will also be doing something similar with their AV receiver line, I think, if you're interested in the audio portion of things. At any rate, it's not like Sony is resting on its laurels. It's not like Sony doesn't have an aggressive product plan for 2023. I just don't think Sony wants to compete with all of the noise of CES. And that makes sense. It's kind of an Apple move, if you think about it. Apple doesn't show up to CES. Why? Because they don't have to. Maybe Sony's starting to think they don't need to show up at CES, at least for their TVs, because they really don't have to. Thanks as always for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoy this kind of analysis and content. I thought it'd be fun to come down here to Sony to talk about what we're not seeing as well as what we're seeing. If you like that, let me know down in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And here's 2 other videos I think you might like.